bienvenidos. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Muy buenos días. Les damos de verdad la más cordial bienvenida a este espacio de conocimiento en línea en nombre del Instituto Mexicano de Tecnología del Agua y de la Cátedra UNESCO IMTA, el agua en la sociedad del conocimiento. Nos da muchísimo gusto estar juntos reunidos en esta comunidad de conocimiento, compartiendo información, conocimientos y sobre todo una vinculación importante entre todos los que estamos interesados en conocer más sobre los temas del agua. Tú nos acompañas a través de esta plataforma Zoom, pero también nos acompañas a través de redes sociales. Estamos transmitiendo totalmente en vivo a través de Facebook Live del Instituto Mexicano de Tecnología del Agua. También estamos saliendo totalmente en vivo a través del canal IMTA en YouTube y en nuestras páginas institucionales, porque para nosotros es muy importante brindar las más posibilidades que podamos para que quienes están interesados tengan la facilidad de conectarse y hacer crecer esta comunidad de conocimiento y de análisis y de vinculación en torno a los temas fundamentales del agua. Estamos teniendo en este momento nuestras redes sociales en pantalla y pues ahí es donde nos encontramos y estaremos compartiendo toda esta información. Como todas las semanas, este seminario, este espacio está siendo grabado por la importancia que tiene este ciclo en particular también sobre haciendo ciencia desde el gobierno, y entonces estará quedando grabado para que si quieres repetir, quieres volver a ver el material y el contenido que nuestro invitado de esta mañana, Teeple, del Servicio Geológico de los Estados Unidos, compartirá con nosotros, pues ahí estará toda la información. Y si sabes de alguien que se perdió la oportunidad de acompañarnos en vivo, pues es una buena oportunidad para que le compartas que puede verlo posteriormente cuando termine el evento en nuestras redes sociales y donde les indicamos anteriormente en nuestro canal IMTA. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Como ustedes vieron, les voy a comentar un poquito la dinámica que estaremos siguiendo en esta charla, que será en inglés, y tendremos también subtitulaje automático para que nos facilitemos también el dar seguimiento a la charla de esta mañana del doctor Andrew Teeple. Como ustedes notaron, quienes están en la plataforma Zoom, los micrófonos están bloqueados para los asistentes y así van a permanecer a lo largo de la sesión para favorecer una mejor experiencia de todas y de todos en el desarrollo de este seminario. Sin embargo, para nosotros es muy importante la participación y la interacción con todos y todas ustedes, de forma que la manera de interactuar con nuestro invitado de esta mañana y con nuestra moderadora, que ya está por aquí también lista y en un segundo más tendré el gusto de presentar, pues será por escrito a través del chat. Puedes entrar a la sección de chat aquí estás en la plataforma de Zoom y ahí por escrito en cualquier momento desde el inicio de la charla puedes plantear tus preguntas o tus comentarios, y también a través de redes sociales, pues en las secciones de comentarios estaremos muy al pendiente de recibir tus intervenciones, tus comentarios o tus preguntas para nuestro invitado de esta mañana en este ciclo importante que hemos denominado Ciencia Pública en Acción. Y estos seminarios en línea del Instituto Mexicano de Tecnología del Agua estamos dedicándolos a conocer experiencias muy interesantes, diversas, de diferentes partes del mundo incluso, sobre qué significa hacer ciencia desde el gobierno, cómo se articula, cuáles son los temas fundamentales, cuáles son las dinámicas de vinculación al interior y al exterior del gobierno y con todos los actores involucrados en la temática en particular. Y esta mañana nuestro invitado, y le agradecemos muchísimo que haya aceptado esta invitación, Andrew Teeple, del Servicio Geológico de los Estados Unidos, estará compartiendo con nosotros, y para acompañarle y para hacer la conducción y su presentación, yo en este momento quiero darle la más cordial bienvenida y saludar con muchísimo gusto a la doctora Iskra Mejía. Ella es subcoordinadora de hidrometeorología del Instituto Mexicano de Tecnología del Agua, quien hará la conducción y acompañará en la presentación del doctor Teeple y además pues la sección de preguntas y respuestas. Doctora Iskra Mejía, ¿cómo estás? Muy buenos días, me da muchísimo gusto saludarte.
¿Qué tal, Marco? Buenos días a todos y todas. Es un gusto estar aquí y presentar a nuestro ponente magistral. Realmente esperamos una ponencia de mucho interés que tiene temas bastante relevantes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Iskra Mejía Estrada. I'm the head of the Hydrometeorology Department of the National Institute of Water Technology, and I have the huge pleasure of presenting our superb speaker for today, is Andrew Teeple. Andrew Teeple earned his Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln in 2005. When he was a student, he began working with the USGS, the United States Geological Survey, in the Nebraska Water Science Center in 2003. Then 3 years later, Andrew became a full-time hydrologist for the Texas Water Science Center. And as a hydrologist, he uses advanced borehole and geophysical techniques to aid in the interpretation of hydrogeological characterization and framework, preferential or groundwater flow paths. He also works with interaction potential between hydrological units, groundwater and surface water interaction, freshwater and saline water transitions, zone delineation. He also uses he works in conceptual model development and other groundwater-related concerns in the United States and internationally as well. He's worked with Mexico, Canada, United Arab Emirates, Cambodia, and Thailand. In 2014, Andy began and continues to serve as a team lead of the Geophysics and Subsurface Analysis Unit, the GSAU, in Austin, Texas, and as a team lead, he coordinates the actions of the GSAU. During his 18 years with the USGS, he has been the author or co-author of multiple published scientific investigation reports. So as you can definitely tell, we have a superb speaker. And Andrew, welcome, and the floor is yours. We're paying attention, full attention to you now.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to give an overview of the U.S. Geological Survey as a whole, and then start going down to the individual parts of the USGS, all the way down to the district that I work in, the Oklahoma-Texas Water Science Center, and then also the team that I lead, the Geophysics and Subsurface Analysis Unit. So the USGS mission is to monitor, analyze, and predict current and evolving dynamics of complex human and natural Earth system interactions, and to deliver actionable intelligence at scales and timeframes relevant to decision makers. So what does that entail? We provide science related to natural hazards that threaten lives and livelihoods, the water, energy, minerals, and other natural resources, the health of our ecosystems and environment, and the impacts of the climate and land use change. This is typically done using developing new methods and tools to help solve these issues and enable timely, relevant, and useful information about the Earth and its processes. A little bit of a background on the USGS. It's a non-regulatory science center, part of the Department of the Interior. So we offer unbiased scientific information to the community. It's the largest water, earth, and biological science and civilian mapping agency in the United States. And we collect, monitor, analyze, and provide science about natural resource conditions, issues, and problems. The USGS as a whole has a diverse expertise, multiple scientists throughout the whole nation and Puerto Rico as well. This enables a large-scale and multidisciplinary investigations and helps provide impartial scientific information to resource managers, planners, and customers. There's over 10,000 scientists that work for the USGS at over 400 locations. And as you can see on the map, these are the locations of all of our different science centers throughout the country. Now, the USGS is split up into different mission areas. There's 5 mission areas that it's split into, and each of these mission areas have groups of scientists that are related to those core science systems. So the first mission area is the core science system. This is your core mapping and surveying division. This is where you can get your National Geospatial program, the 3D elevation program. This is where the Landsat program is out of. This is where you would typically think of the USGS as your mapping agency, where the topo maps came out of. We have an ecosystems mission area. This studies the sustainable management and conservation of biological resources. So this is our biologic division and ecosystems division. We have energy and minerals. This division works on research and assessments of the location, the quantity, and the quality of mineral and energy resources in the nation. We have a natural hazards division. This monitors and assesses and conducts research on a wide range of natural hazards. This would be the division that pertains to earthquake measurements and volcanic activity. And then the last mission area is the water resources mission area, and that's the one I'm part of. This is data collection and studies that focus on the water resources of the country. So what is the mission area of the water resources? What is the mission of the water resources mission area? The USGS works with partners to monitor, assess, conduct targeted research, and deliver information on a wide range of water resources and conditions, including stream flow, groundwater, water quality, and water use and availability. So water information is really fundamental to national and local economic well-being, the protection of life and property, and effective management of the water resources. The USGS Water Mission Area works on a unique funding structure. About 20% of the funding is actually federally appropriated. So in order to get the other 80% of our funding, we have to cooperate with other agencies in order to get these reimbursable funds. This is done to help promote local studies, to help solve local issues. And also this funding is obtained through submitting proposals and being rewarded the funds. So because of that, we work with a multitude of other local, state, and federal agencies. These are just some of the agencies we work with out of the Oklahoma-Texas Water Science Center. But we work closely with these agencies to help solve and manage their water resources on the local scale, basically. So the Oklahoma-Texas Water Science Center office locations, there are 9 of them in Texas and 3 of them in Oklahoma. Our main office is out of the Austin, Texas, as illustrated as this blue dot here. We have another main office in the Oklahoma City, and then the gray dots are field sites. And within the Oklahoma-Texas Water Science Center, we have 6 science themes. So the first one is our streams and lakes. The USGS has been collecting surface water in Oklahoma and Texas since 1889. We have some of the oldest surface stream engaging stations in the country. There's more than 2,300 sites in Oklahoma and Texas with the surface water data. And we have about 750 streams and lakes that have real-time continuous stream gauging and lake surface altitude information. The next science theme is the groundwater and springs. USGS has been collecting groundwater data in Oklahoma and Texas since 1898. We have more than 19,000 sites in Oklahoma and Texas that have groundwater level data, with only 30 of those having real-time continuous monitoring stations. The reason for that is the state agencies have an extensive real-time network, so we use the state agency data for this district. The next science theme is the water quality. USGS has been collecting water quality data in Oklahoma and Texas since 1907. There's been more than 11,000 sites in Oklahoma and Texas with water quality data. And we have 90 real-time water quality stations in this district. And then the next science theme is the water use and availability. This entails a collection of hydrologic data and scientific information to help water managers effectively manage increasing demands on water resources across Oklahoma and Texas. Some of this entails brush management, how does that affect the water quantity, and also evapotranspiration, getting evapotranspiration estimates. Then the fifth science theme is our flood and drought. Oklahoma and Texas experience extreme floods and droughts. It seems we go from one extreme to the next extreme the next year, and we help provide the critical data to help mitigate these drought and flood situations. And then lastly, we have our additional studies science theme. This entails everything else that wasn't able to be clumped into any of the other science themes. This is a diverse range of projects built on the foundation of reliable long-term data collection and a wide array of proven and cutting-edge sampling, modeling, and analysis techniques. This group entails our geophysics group, the modeling, biology, geospatial mapping, and data management, among some other things. And so the work I entail mostly falls under this science theme. So a little bit about the group I lead, the Geophysics and Subsurface Analysis Unit. We focus on two things within this group. We use geophysical analysis to incorporate it in our studies to help solve water issues. When we do geophysical studies, we typically use subsurface data sets to help interpret our geophysics. And then we also have subsurface analysis projects where we incorporate multiple types of subsurface data sets to study groundwater, typically to build hydrogeologic frameworks or conceptual models. And a lot of times we will incorporate geophysics to help supplement our compilation of subsurface data. So a little history of myself through the USGS. I've started as a student through a student work program. At the time, I was studying to be a chemical engineer, looking for a student work or internship at a lab at the time. And the USGS was looking for student interns in the area in Nebraska, where I was at the time. I was placed under the supervision of someone else who had chemical engineering experience, but he was at the time working with a lot of geophysical data. And so he had me out in the field collecting geophysics information and starting to do the processing for that. And I really enjoyed that. And so after my studies, I decided to become full-time with the USGS. In my early career, I continued to work with this same supervisor for many years and started to learn as much as I could from him. He was a mentor to me, and he helped me evolve into more leading roles, doing more involved in the presentations of the data that I was collecting and interpreting, helped me start writing proposals for our reimbursable funding, and providing more interpretive contents in the reports, having more writing roles on the reports that he was writing. And so, and he also, that's one thing with the USGS is you don't have to go one scientific track. I had opportunities to work on other projects at the time. I did some water quality studies. I helped the data section collect surface stream measurements and helped with the water level measurements throughout. So there's been some flexibility on not just having to focus on one scientific track. We're able to help other scientists along the way. And then currently, now because of my involvement throughout the years, I've been in the survey 18 years. So now I'm the source expert for the geophysics in the district. I lead a team of hydrologists and geophysicists for these subsurface studies. I play an extensive role in proposal writing and project management. And I'm still able to choose what content I want to work with. You gear your proposals for what you think will help in the local scale, but also what you feel comfortable helping with. So we're able to answer the water issues using our scientific expertise. And if the cooperator needs something that we can't offer, we have the scientist within the district or within the country that is able to help out to answering those issues as well. So I work with multiple other scientists within the district and in the country to help solve the water issues. When I can't answer it, I bring the other scientists in. And so this is a list of stuff that I have worked on extensively throughout the years. I've done hydrogeologic characterizations, hydraulic property calculations and analysis, helped determine well construction and well conditions. I've done contaminant detection. That one is actually this image right here. We collected subsurface resistivity data to help identify creosote plumes at a site. Indicators of groundwater quality. I've done freshwater saline water transition zones, and that's representative of this image up here. This blue section is an area of low resistivity, which is indicative of saline water in the area, and it's been matched up with well measurements of dissolved solid content. And then fracture analysis and void detection. I've done a stream bed interaction potential, groundwater surface water interaction, and helped build conceptual models. Some of the current projects I'm working on, I'm heavily involved with the transboundary aquifer studies around the El Paso area. Mainly work on the Mesilla, Conejos Medanos, and the Waco Bolson aquifers. We've done historical data compilation in those areas, done some geochemical assessments, and I've done some geophysical assessments. And one of the things we're doing in the last year and continuing on is doing a surface water groundwater interactions along the Rio Grande River. With that, we're using self-potential geophysical methods to help identify inflections of the self-potential. And based off of those, we're doing forward and inverse modeling to help quantify flow that's going into or out of the near surface aquifer. Another project I'm just finishing up is building a hydrogeologic framework for inclusion into a geoenvironmental assessment for undiscovered uranium deposits. So this one, where we're helping with our expertise with, I've been working with the energy and minerals section. So we're not only just working within our mission areas, but we're helping scientists outside of our mission areas as well. So our water resource expertise is helping out with the energy minerals expertise. And then the third large project I'm working on is identifying a water footprint for bottling water facilities and trying to identify the primary and secondary effects of the facility to the watershed. So if you have these multiple bottling facilities, how much is it affecting the watershed, and how much of a water footprint do these facilities have? So just to sum up how my experience through the USGS has been, it's been multiple opportunities. There's great mentorship throughout the agency. There's a multitude of scientists that you're able to collaborate with on your projects. You don't have to be the one scientist to answer it all. You're able to reach out to all these other scientists to help you answer the problems that your cooperators want. It's very fluid. You have ability to work on the science that you're interested in, as long as it's helping the local interest in the region. We're able to work anywhere. We don't necessarily have to propose our work here in this district. They want us to work in this district, but if there's a need for our help in other districts, we're able to go and help out in other districts as well. And we're able to, because we're developing our proposal, we're able to apply novel research and techniques to help solve these water issues. So we're not just following steps to solve the issues. We're actually trying to do research and understanding new ways of solving these water issues. Now, there are some challenges that come with this as well. Because of the reimbursable nature, we are limited to what the local interests are and what gets funding. So if you follow a track that's not interested in that region, you may not get your funding to continue that science. So, but again, we're able to work across the nation as well. So if it doesn't work in one region, you can maybe apply it to another region. We are government, and government is slow. There's a lot of paperwork required to get your projects going and moving the projects along and then finalizing the project. So it's not going to be one quick study. These quick studies typically get drawn out with all the paperwork and requirements needed as well. And currently, and I think it's just the work structure everywhere. There's just too much work for the personnel available right now, and you can say that's a good thing as well. You don't want to ever not be out of work, and so but we're scientists. We love our job, and we're trying to answer the questions to the best of our abilities. But we also need the personnel to be doing this as well, and that basically concludes what I wanted to present to you today. We'll have a large chunk of time here for a general discussion. So I also got my contact information up above if you want to reach out to me at another point as well.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for that definitely interesting talk. It's really always good and constructive to hear the point of view of someone who's worked for the government, and also someone who belongs to an organization that produces data for all over the world. I'm a scientist, and I do use the information produced at the USGS on a daily basis. Andrew, you talked about your career, the evolution of your scientific career, and I think this is a really important clue for future scientists so that they see where you started and where they can end. So you mentioned as a student when you first got involved with the USGS, and then your career naturally progressed towards being the leader of a team. And this is fantastic because it's a great example of how a young scientist can evolve up to the point of becoming a leader of a group, which is a position of a lot of responsibility, of course. Mm-hmm. You also mentioned that this is a few comments that I gathered from what you explained to us from everything you've done, which is definitely a wider range of projects. That's really impressive. And you also talked about, this is something of a particularly interesting, that you don't have to be the scientist that knows everything. You have to reach out, you have to collaborate with other scientists to make sure that you get involved also in other projects, so that it's an integral project, not something that addresses only one topic or only one area, but there's also a huge opportunity for collaboration, which is something I think that's an important takeaway message from this talk, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I would have to definitely agree with you there. That is extremely huge. I just wrote a report not too long ago where I pulled in expertise from 4 different science areas. I have a water quality background, but since I've focused more on geophysics after my studies, I don't have the greatest water quality. So I brought a water quality specialist in to help me with my geochemistry on my reports. And we got geologists that I pulled in to help interpret the subsurface geology for our framework. So yeah, it's crucial to work closely with other scientists.
This is definitely, I agree. Well, we have a couple of questions here in the Zoom chats. And please remember to pose your questions either in English or Spanish in any of the platforms that we're broadcasting now. Jorge Salgado has a question. He also wants to congratulate you for your excellent presentation. And he says, thank you for sharing your experiences. My question is, what would be the USGS operational scope only with federal funds if reimbursable funds are restricted?
So the federal funding, most of the federal funding goes to our data collection programs. So our stream gauges, our groundwater gauges, our water quality gauges across the nation, and all the efforts to collect that data, that's federally funded. But there is also large-scale federal projects that get funded as well. Actually, my 3 projects that I presented are federally funded projects. So my Transboundary Aquifer works is through the Transboundary Aquifer Assessment Act. The bottled watering facility is through the Save Our Springs Act, and the what was the third one that I did? Hold on one second. Oh, the uranium assessment was funding that came through the Energies and Minerals program, and so they're fully funded through the government. So they provided their funds for us to help them out.
So this definitely tells us that the government is certainly involved, and it has a lot of interest in developing this type of project and ideas. Of course, we have another question from Petronilo Cortez. He says, Andy, good morning. Thanks a lot for sharing your knowledge and experiences. Regarding the aquifers in the border of Conejos Médanos and Bolsón del Hueco, this aquifer actually supplies water for Ciudad Juárez. What is the general situation regarding that aquifer?
Well, so we're in continuing efforts to study these aquifers. Right now, we've got a lot of information on the United States side, and so we're in works through the International Boundary and Water Commission to do a data transfer with the Conagua to get information on the Mexican side of the aquifer as well. These are 2 government agencies, so this process has been very, very slow, but we're hoping that we can get this data transfer, and when we get this data transfer, then we can get a bigger full picture of these aquifers. So right now we have a good picture on the U.S. side. It'd be nice to get a picture on the Mexico side, but what we're seeing is the salinity is causing huge issues in this area, and that's what we're trying to track through all of our methods is how is this salinity affecting the area, and what can we do to help minimize the effect, basically.
Thank you, Andrew. Definitely transfer of all the information and then making sure that everyone shares the data is definitely crucial, especially in these transboundary basins, because all the aquifers and all the water resources that span over 2 countries or more, that's definitely a challenge. Mm-hmm. We have a third question from Eduardo Guevara, and he says, thank you, Mr. Teeple, for delivering this lecture, and congratulations for your careers. Another question got posted, and I lost the first question. My apologies. Okay, I'm back. Thank you, Mr. Teeple, for delivering this lecture, and congratulations for your career path. I'm curious about how USGS informs policies with the DOI. Can you share some details on how this works? What's the process on this? There's a follow-up question, but I'll ask this question for now, and then I'll continue with the other one.
So I'm unfortunately not big on the political side of this. That we have our large head executives that do all the policies, but I know they're promoting the work for the USGS, and a lot of times we work with the local congressmen, and so we get support from our congressmen, and that's how we're able to get these federal fundings for these other big projects like the Transboundary Aquifer Assessment Act that I mentioned, or the Save Our Springs Act. There was a congresswoman out of Florida that really wanted to make sure the springs aren't getting affected by water withdrawals. And so she started this initiative through Congress. And we also, on our aspects, we have a water day where we bring in cooperators from Texas and Oklahoma up to Washington, D.C. to express their issues to the politicians that we need this funding to solve the water issues, especially for our case in Texas. Our aquifers are being depleted, and we don't have much surface water as well. So water is a huge issue for us, and we want to make sure that Congress and the politicians understand this.
So there's always definitely going to be some involvement from politics in science. This is another key takeaway message that we could consider. We have a question from our Facebook platform from Karina Velez, and she asks, Andrew, in your experience, what's the biggest and the most crucial way to integrate different disciplines in an environment project, and how to take all these practices into action from the government? By the way, I forgot the second question from Petronilo, but if you don't mind, then please answer Karina's question, and then I'll go back to Petronilo's question again.
Yeah. And that's one thing that it's a whole process of planning out your study before you actually do the data collection. So one of the first things we do in all of our projects is we do a data compilation effort to get an idea of what data is available, where we need to fill in these data gaps, whether we need more water quality information, whether we need geophysics to fill in stratigraphic information or whatnot. And so then once you get an idea of the information that you need to answer your issues, then you can start asking yourself, am I able to fill that void, or do I need help from other agencies or other scientists? And then if you need the help from other scientists, then you can start reaching out to these expert scientists. And then if they're not able to help, they'll at least know who that you can contact for that additional help.
Yes, completely agree. Always reach out. Okay, so I'm going to ask Petronilo's second question. Sorry, this is Eduardo Guevara. Apologies. He says, on the other hand, how is the interaction with other institutions within the DOI, like the Bureau of Reclamation, the National Park Service, etc.?
We work really closely with them. So again, those agencies are fully funded, and so they are able to use their funds to help us support their work on their projects. And so I've worked closely with the Bureau of Rec out of El Paso on some of our work out there. And I know a lot of our scientists in the office work with the National Park Service to collect water quality samples. So we have really good labs in the USGS. And so a lot of these other bureaus want to use our labs to assess their water quality on their sites. So yeah, working with the other agencies, we have a good relationship with these other bureau agencies.
Sorry, always procuring communication with other agencies. Definitely. We have 3 questions about the transboundary aquifers of Mexico and the US. And I'm not going to try to group them because they address different concerns. Just want to let you know that this topic is definitely a hot topic. Any transboundary hydrology, either surface or groundwater hydrology, is always point of interest. So one of the questions mentions this person would like to know a little bit more about the studies that are being done in the transboundary aquifers. And for this, I'm pretty sure that we might be able to consult the wide publications that you've put out for the general public. But again, please do talk to us about that. There's another question again from Olga Xochitl Cisneros, and she says, from your experience, I'm sorry, no, there's one, again from Petronilo Cortez, and he asks about, I'm sorry, the questions keep moving in the Zoom channel. My apologies about that.
You're okay.
Yes, sorry, from Olga Xochitl, from your experience, what's the future of agriculture in the north boundary, well, the north board, that depends in great part of the transboundary aquifer? So these are 2 comments that relate to transboundary hydrology, so we're listening. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. So yeah, the transboundary aquifers are a hotspot, and that's why we've been able to work. I've been able to work extensively there in the last 5 years, and they've been working on it longer than that. The TAP program started in 2016, so a couple years before I was actually started on it. But there's been a lot of work that's been done on the aquifers. We've done a lot more work on the Mesilla just because of the majority of it is on the U.S. side, and with the available data that was there, we're just trying to finish this one before applying what we've learned to the next to the Hueco Bolson. So I've done a big geochemistry and geophysical study in the Mesilla. From that study, I've used water quality information from other scientists in the area to help evaluate the samples that we collected. And based off of that, we found 6 different water types, basically. And 2 of them being from a Rio Grande source. So we have a modern Rio Grande source and an ancient Rio Grande source. There's an unknown water type that we found. There's a mountain front recharge water type, which was older and highly mineralized with a lot of trace elements. And then there was this deep saline source that was very mineralized and very, very old water. And so with the geophysics, we were trying to identify if we can see the extents of this highly mineralized water. And that was one of the images I showed. I can go up here. This image was from the report that we published out of there. And so this blue area was the low resistive feature that we found in the geophysics that related to this highly mineralized old water. And so we were able to start identifying this plume. And down on this edge of this is where the El Paso Narrows are. So we see this plume coming up and pinching out at the El Paso Narrows, where we were seeing very, very high dissolved solids at that point. Some of the other studies we're doing, I mentioned the SP data to help identifying gain losses of the Rio Grande. That's what this image is here. This is the upstream part of the Rio Grande through the study area. Going downstream, we have this blue line are from seepage measurements that we did in the area for the last 20 years. It's a median seepage on the Rio Grande. And we collected self-potential data, which is in the black line. And the self-potential data really matched up well with this the seepage data. And so we're able to start using this self-potential data to help identify in these areas of well where there would be gain and loss in the river. Now, we don't have a quantity to that yet, but we're doing modeling of this self-potential data to help apply a quantity of water that's gaining or losing. Out of the New Mexico office, they're doing analysis on, I believe it is isotopes of noble gases. So trying to use noble gas isotopes to help illustrate the sources of the groundwater. I'm trying to think. They've also built a groundwater model out of the New Mexico Water Science Center as well for the Mesilla Basin, and that one they're continuing to update, and we're really wanting to get some Mexico information to help fill that model down into Mexico more. And so those are some of the big studies that are going on in the area. One other thing, we're trying to incorporate a socioeconomic aspect to our study as well. It's been one of those things that a lot of us scientists forget about is we have this socioeconomic side of all these projects, and we need to start incorporating that. How is this affecting the people in the area? How are the people affecting what's going on in the area? So our first phase on this is just doing a stakeholder map in the area, just getting an idea of all of our stakeholders, who's involved, who's interested, and getting the information from those people. And then once you have your stakeholder map, you can start incorporating that into your project decisions. And as for the agriculture, that's out of my realm of study. I'm not sure how the agriculture is shifting in the area. I would have to relay that to someone else in that expertise. But with the higher salinity, I can imagine they are shifting. They're most likely shifting the crop types that they're doing. I know up in the northern panhandle of Texas, they're with the lack of water, they're shifting their agricultural types to crops that use less water. So it's the same kind of issue is going to be happening in the El Paso area.
Thank you, Andrew. And this shows us the importance of making an integral study of incorporating, of course, the monitoring and modeling with the social aspect, and this stakeholder map that you mentioned to really know who this is going to affect, hopefully positively. We have another question now, following with the topic of aquifers. And Saul Gra asks, from a citizen point of view, how and who we can collaborate with to take care of the aquifers. I'm guessing this is a question more about science from the citizen side of the citizen point of view.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing we don't really do as a USGS agency is we don't reach out to our civilians as much on how we should be taking care of our aquifers, of our water. In Texas, we have a lot of groundwater districts and surface water agencies that actually do this. They reach out to their local counties, their local areas, and reach out to their public on how they can conserve water to save their aquifers, how they can they show display models of how the contaminants can reach to the aquifer. So a lot of the local districts, so these water districts, are teaching their public about this. And we've helped a little bit with these groundwater districts on best ways of explaining it to people. But a lot of our outreach to the public has been through these districts.
Thank you, Andrew. So again, we're definitely talking about collaborations with other organizations, other institutions, to definitely give a meaning to the science that's being done. Mm-hmm. We have another question. This one is from Daniel Viveros, and he asks, is the USGS actively working on rich geophysics, remote sensing analysis for water studies purposes?
What kind of geophysics? We're working reach geophysics. I'm not sure what
remote sensing geophysics.
Yeah. And so, and that's one thing we've been really trying to get a project here out of our district is I would really love to do a helicopter or airborne geophysical survey. It's really cool data, really quick. They can get a lot of geophysical information in a really short time frame. We do have a division out of our Denver office that does solely airborne surveys. And so we do have airborne surveys being done throughout the nation. I just haven't been able to get one sold in our district. I have worked with that division in Denver a few times. Some of the areas that they've collected that I know of is they've done some work in Nebraska. They have some work in North and South Dakota. They've done some airborne surveys on our Mississippi River alluvial plain. And those are just some of the few areas that I know. But yes, we do have the remote sensing for geophysics capabilities in the USGS. It's just I haven't unfortunately been able to work extensively with it. So I'm a little jealous.
You've made it quite clear how important it is to reach out to other scientists, mm-hmm. and to make sure that we create integral science, that we definitely work with more people, with more scientists, more organizations, and also for considering the work that also has to be done, that can be done with the governments. Mm-hmm. So those are the last questions. Andrew, I would like to thank you a lot for your time, for all the concepts, the projects that you've presented to us today. And I would just like to ask you for a final comment, maybe a wrap up of everything that you've shown us today. And if you don't mind, would you mind switching to the slide with your contact details, so that if anyone hasn't been able to write down Andrew's details, that you can have this possibility of contacting him after the talk, hopefully. So, Andrew, again, any comments or any messages that you would like to send at the very end of your talk, please?
Yeah. And so, just to summarize it, it's been a growing experience. I've only been here 18 years. It seems like a long time, but I'm still young, and I'll probably be here for another 18 more, and I'll probably grow more as well. I try to incorporate mentors, try to incorporate other scientists to help your evaluations and your projects. Try to not be one-minded and focus on one area. Try to expand your horizons a little bit. Try to incorporate other issues, other ways of trying to solve the projects that you're working on, and bringing in these other scientists to help you out, because not only will it help strengthen the projects you're working on, but it also strengthen you as well. You'll learn a lot from these other scientists, these other individuals, and it'll overall make a better product that you have. It'll make a better product of you as a person, and a better product for the agency. So I guess that's the huge takeaway is using the resources that you have around you and to best solve your issues.
Thank you very much. That's definitely a great message. We have a question that unfortunately came up while you were giving this goodbye message. So we invite everyone to contact Andy if you have any further questions, any further comments. I'm sure there's a lot of room for discussion on everything that Andy has shown us today. So Andy, again, thank you very much for presenting, for sharing your experience, your projects, everything that you've shown today with us. So this is the closure of Andrew's presentation, and Marco, over to you.
Muchísimas gracias, Iskra, por esta conducción, por supuesto. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much to Andy Teeple por su magnífica presentación y compartir con nosotros esta rica experiencia desde el Servicio Geológico de los Estados Unidos y la forma en la que se percibe el trabajo desde adentro, pero también con todos los actores que necesitan estar involucrados en la gestión del conocimiento que se genera desde esta importante agencia de los Estados Unidos. Muchísimas gracias, Andy. Muchísimas gracias, doctora Iskra Mejía, por esta conducción y por acompañarnos en todo este proceso. Seguimos recibiendo comentarios y preguntas de todos los asistentes y con gusto se los haremos llegar a Andrew para que él tenga a la mano todo lo que aquí se conversó, para tener estas referencias de lo que fue este diálogo en vivo desde el espacio de conocimiento en línea del IMTA y también, por supuesto, para poder dar seguimiento y ojalá y tengamos la oportunidad de poder profundizar en vinculaciones técnicas, de poder vincular el trabajo de nuestras organizaciones y también con todos los que están trabajando en torno a estos temas que hoy compartimos con todas y con todos ustedes. Muchísimas gracias, Andrew. Thank you very much again. Y yo quiero invitarles a que, como es pues ya prácticamente una tradición, bueno, primero agradecerles, por supuesto, su compañía en este espacio de conocimiento en línea y por su participación, siempre interesante, siempre refrescante conocer diferentes puntos de vista, perspectivas, preguntas, y pues este es el espíritu que tiene este espacio de conocimiento, al abrirlos para que pues podamos conocernos, profundizar más en los trabajos que hacemos con respecto al agua y, por supuesto, vincularnos cada vez mejor. Esto sabemos que es tarea de equipo. No hay otra forma de enfrentar los retos actuales más que en equipo y esta es una de las formas de intercambiar conocimiento, información y posibilidades de vinculación. Muchísimas gracias y quiero invitarles entonces a que, como ya es una tradición para nosotros, si así lo deseas, puedas encender tu cámara para que podamos tomar una imagen de grupo, digamos, la fotografía conmemorativa de este espacio de conocimiento que tuvimos esta mañana con todas y con todos ustedes. Y estamos ahorita ya haciendo los ajustes para que puedan hacerlo libremente, cada quien desde sus equipos. Y en lo que encendemos nuestras cámaras, yo quiero aprovechar el tiempo para muy rápidamente hacerles algunas invitaciones de información que consideramos que puede ser de interés para todas y todos ustedes. La próxima semana, el viernes 25 de marzo, continuamos con este ciclo de Ciencia Pública en Acción, en este seminario en línea, compartiendo experiencias sobre qué significa y cómo se hace ciencia desde el gobierno. Y en esta ocasión, el próximo viernes, tendremos a Tomás Graciano, también de la NOAA de los Estados Unidos, a las 10 de la mañana. El registro está abierto también para que podamos conocer y profundizar también en las experiencias y en el conocimiento que se genera desde la NOAA con Tomás Graciano, y está abierto también el registro para que puedan acompañarnos todas y todos. Nos dará muchísimo gusto que estemos otra vez reunidos la próxima semana. La que sigue, por favor. Y tenemos también avisos importantes en materia de educación continua, de cursos de capacitación. Está ya en puerta del 28 de marzo al 1 de abril un curso en línea sobre la Ley de Aguas Nacionales, cuáles son los aspectos relevantes e institucionales en la actualidad y en el futuro próximo del marco legal en nuestro país. Las inscripciones están abiertas y mayores informaciones están en educación-continua@tlaloc.imta.mx y tenemos también el sitio a la vista en la pantalla para que, si estás interesada o interesado en participar, pues te conectes lo antes posible porque el cupo es limitado. La que sigue, por favor. Y tenemos también convocatorias a los programas de posgrado que ofrece el Instituto Mexicano de Tecnología del Agua. En esta ocasión tenemos la convocatoria a 2 maestrías de nuestro instituto. Una de ellas, la maestría en Ciencias y Tecnología del Agua. Esta es en modalidad presencial por investigación, dura 4 semestres y es importante apurarse porque la recepción de documentos cierra el 8 de abril. Si estás interesada o interesado o conoces a alguien que quisiera tener esta información, pues puedes ayudarnos muchísimo compartiéndole estos tips o esta información para que se conecten con nosotros en la referencia de posgrado que tenemos en la pantalla para mayores informes, y estaremos con gusto también atentos en redes sociales o en las páginas institucionales para poder atender sus dudas o sus preguntas. La que sigue, por favor. Y de la misma naturaleza, con una fecha o con fechas similares a la de la maestría que acabamos de mencionar, tenemos también la convocatoria abierta para la maestría en gestión integrada de los recursos hídricos. Esta es una maestría profesionalizante a distancia que dura también 4 semestres. El registro de documentos está por cerrarse el 8 de abril, así que si es de tu interés participar en este posgrado y aprovechar este programa de maestría, pues está también abierto, y toda la información en nuestros sitios de posgrado del Instituto Mexicano de Tecnología del Agua. La que sigue, por favor. Aprovechar también para comentarles, seguimos en marzo, un mes que nos invita a reflexionar en torno a la igualdad entre hombres y mujeres, y particularmente en este boletín, enfocándonos en diferentes piezas de información, de cultura ambiental también con respecto a la relación de las mujeres con el medio ambiente. Este boletín Hidrófilos que publicamos cada 15 días, les invitamos a que lo conozcan. En redes sociales puedes acceder muy fácil a la liga de este boletín, y por supuesto te puedes también suscribir de manera que te pueda llegar directamente cada 15 días para que tengas ahí pues una forma más de conocer y profundizar en diferentes piezas de conocimiento y de divulgación con respecto al agua que pueda ser de utilidad para ti o para las funciones que tú realices, incluso de divulgación científica y tecnológica con otras audiencias. La que sigue, por favor. Y les invitamos, por supuesto, una cordialísima invitación a que nos acompañen y nos sigan en nuestra página web institucional, donde una de las secciones que queremos compartir con ustedes en esta ocasión es nuestra sección Perspectivas. Es una sección, una columna de análisis que semana con semana aprovechamos para, desde el instituto, plantear temas fundamentales en la agenda del agua en nuestro país y también pues de manera internacional. Esta semana, el camino hacia la sustentabilidad hídrica de los acuíferos sobreexplotados, un tema que pues fue de muchísimo interés en la presentación de hoy de Andrew, y también por supuesto el tema del Día Mundial del Agua tiene que ver también con las aguas subterráneas. Entonces planteamos este texto de análisis. Los invitamos a que lo conozcan, a que nos lean, a que lo comentemos y por supuesto a que nos propongan también temas que sea de su interés que abordemos desde esta perspectiva de análisis. La que sigue, por favor. Y me parece que esta es la última. Recordarles simplemente nuestras redes sociales y las diferentes formas de permanecer en contacto con todas y con todos ustedes, donde podemos compartir invitaciones y convocatorias, pero también escucharlos y saber cuáles son los temas de su preferencia y qué información y qué conocimiento y qué dinámicas les gustaría que estableciéramos de manera conjunta para que hagamos crecer esta comunidad de conocimiento en torno al agua, que sin duda una de las tareas fundamentales tiene que ver con sumar nuestros esfuerzos, nuestras visiones, nuestras perspectivas como usuarios desde diferentes puntos de vista, porque finalmente todos tenemos que ver con el agua. Quienes trabajamos en torno a la generación de conocimiento, quienes trabajamos en torno a los servicios del agua, en todos los sectores productivos o como ciudadanos simplemente, pues el agua es algo que nos une, es como una especie de cemento que nos une como sociedad, y como sociedad necesitamos verla y aportar todas y todos para su cuidado y su preservación. Cuidar el agua es cuidar de todos nosotros, se ha dicho muchísimas veces también. Por acá yo quiero aprovechar también en lo que regresamos ya a la pantalla de mosaico de todos estos rostros con los que compartimos esta charla de esta mañana, a que estén y sigan pendientes de nuestras redes sociales. Particularmente quiero invitarles a estar muy al pendiente de un evento importante que está ocurriendo en el estado de Sinaloa, en México. Es una exposición agrícola pues, nacional prácticamente, donde el Instituto Mexicano de Tecnología del Agua, en un equipo coordinado y comandado por el doctor Agustín Breña Naranjo, coordinador de hidrología, y su equipo de especialistas y expertos en riego y drenaje, y por supuesto también está presente la doctora Iskra Mejía, compartiendo en particular diferentes proyectos y programas de desarrollo científico y tecnológico directamente con las organizaciones de usuarios, particularmente pensando en un mejor uso y un uso más productivo del agua, utilizando diferentes herramientas tecnológicas como percepción remota, el uso de sensores, en fin, hacer esta agricultura inteligente, enfocándonos particularmente en torno al agua. Y pues estamos llegando al fin de esta transmisión, de este seminario, y con esta invitación y con esta convocatoria que sigamos en contacto y a que sigamos pensando de manera conjunta en cómo podemos aportar desde lo que hacemos para que el agua sea un elemento de desarrollo y de bienestar para todas y para todos. Y estamos encendiendo nuestras cámaras. Yo quiero invitarles a que a la cuenta de 3, si les parece, nos regalemos una gran sonrisa por haber formado parte de esta comunidad de conocimiento y por supuesto también porque es viernes y en México pues se va a juntar con un día feriado, entonces puede ser también una buena oportunidad para relajar un poquito, para poder retomar algunas actividades también que dejamos pendientes con familia y también estar preparados porque la próxima semana, una semana importante también en materia de agua, el 22 de marzo, les recuerdo, es el Día Mundial del Agua. Entonces, pues con estas noticias y con esta invitación, les invitamos a todos a que con una gran sonrisa nos regalemos a todas y todos para poder tomar esta imagen del grupo y agradecerle de nuevo a Andrew Teeple su participación con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias, Andrew. Thank you again. Y pues nos vemos en el próximo espacio de conocimiento. A la cuenta de 3, saludamos, nos regalamos una sonrisa con el deseo de vernos en la próxima de nuestras transmisiones. Muchísimas gracias. 1, 2 y 3. Nos damos un afectuoso saludo. Hasta allá donde estés, les mandamos de verdad el más fuerte abrazo con el deseo de que todo fluya como ustedes lo desean en su vida profesional y en su vida familiar. Muchísimas gracias y nos vemos en el próximo espacio.